Hey guys, how's it going? I'm coming to y'all again with another deck tech. This time on, I believe it's my second newest deck, not counting Autumn Willow back here, and it's Rakdos the Showstopper. Whenever Ravnica Allegiance was spoiled, I was just so hyped to build this. I knew it wasn't the strongest commander in the set. I knew it wasn't even in the top 3 strongest commanders in the set, due to the fact that Vannifar and Teysa were probably just the best. Lavinia, actually, I think is a lot better than Teysa. Lavinia, I feel, is a lot stronger than most of them. Vannifar for combo. Teysa, I've seen built. It's kind of slow. I always felt it was better in the 99, but once it gets going, it is actually pretty solid. But Rakdos looked like the most fun new commander. Not just out of Ravnica Allegiance, but out of Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. And I went ahead and decided to build it. My group has a little dibbing system. In order to keep the group diverse, we discuss whenever sets come out, and we place dibs whenever cards are spoiled, and then after the entire set is released, we discuss with each other, and we work out, you know, who gets to build what based off of personal preference and to fill voids in our collections. And what this ensures is that we don't have 4 Atraxa decks and 9 Animar decks running around the meta. And it makes for a very unique and diverse meta. And I ended up getting to build Rakdos the Showstopper, which made me very, very happy. So for those of you who don't know, he is a 6/6 for 4, a black and a red, flying trample. He's a legendary creature demon, with flying and trample, rather. And he says, when it enters the battlefield, you flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, a devil, or an imp, and then you destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. Super fun deck. Obviously makes you think to build Demon Tribal, which is what I did with the deck. It's a Demon Tribal deck. It is also a red-black control deck. It's worth noting there's no winners on the coin flips with Rakdos the Showstopper. So cards like Okon and the 4-mana red enchantment that can, I think it's called Chance Encounter, or whatever it is. Whenever you win a coin flip, you put a counter on it. Whenever it has a certain amount of counters, you win the game. Those don't work with Rakdos the Showstopper. Since it specifies heads or tails, there is no winner and no loser to the coin flip. So keep that in mind if you decide to build your own list. I went with Rakdos Demon Tribal / Control because it seemed like a really fun and flavorful way to play the game and play with the deck, so that's how I went with it. Let's go ahead and get into it. The lands, I won't spend much time here. Bloodstained Mire, obviously, can go and fetch our Canyon Slough, our Blood Crypt, our Smoldering Marsh, or our Badlands. That is a proxy guy proxy for those of you who are curious. My actual one is in my wife's Edgar Markov deck. Command Tower doesn't need much explanation. Path of Ancestry is great because when we cast a demon, we get to scry and set up the top of our deck, which is nice because oftentimes I'll set up a Sire of Insanity lock or soft lock, and then getting to know what we're getting next is really solid. Luxury Suite, Battle Bond was just amazing for Commander. Graven Cairns, not much really to discuss on the mana base of the deck. We pretty much know what lands do. Tainted Peak, Dragon Skull Summit, Sulphurous Springs, Shadow Blood Ridge, Foreboding Ruins, Temple of Malice, Rakdos Carnarium, Lava Claw Reaches for no other reason than I had one, so why not? I do run both Urborg and Cabal Coffers in the deck. There's a lot of expensive cards in the deck, and I went very, very, very greedy with my list. I really should have a lower average CMC than I do, but I wanted to play all these cool big demons and whatnot, so I said screw it. I have enough decks that are built to be very powerful and very competitive in a non-CEDH sense anyways. This didn't have to be one of them, so I went ahead and included all the big fatties, and as a result, I decided to go ahead and throw my Coffers and Urborg in here. And then for basics, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 swamps. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains, apparently. I would have thought I had more mountains than that, but apparently I don't. Into the Mana Rocks, again, not much to discuss. Mana Crypt, pretty fun card. This is, again, a proxy guy proxy. My actual Mana Crypts are tied up in my Endrick Sar deck and my Melek Izzet Paragon deck, so I had the proxy, throw it in here, pretty solid, just 2 mana, and when you flip a coin, or beginning of your upkeep, you flip a coin, and when you lose the flip, it deals 3 damage to you. So, Soul Ring, needs no explanation. Wayfarer's Bauble, one of the best pieces of ramp in non-green. I've been playing this for a very long time, and I'm very happy to see other people are picking up on how good these types of ramp effects are. Fire Diamond, Charcoal Diamond, just ways to get some additional ramp early that gives us colored mana. Falwar Stone, more of the same. Talisman, more of the same. Rakdos Signet, more of the same. Commander Sphere, I'm not in love with. I really don't like this card in most decks, but I didn't have a better rock to put in here. So I went ahead and I threw the Sphere in. It's fine. Sacking it in the late game to draw a card oftentimes just draws me something useless off the top. I don't find that ability to be super worthwhile. Maybe in a deck where you can recur it more easily, something like Silas Wren or something, but I don't know. Not really a big fan of it here. Burnished Heart, one of my favorite ramp spells for the same reason as Wayfarer's Bauble. Lands are just awesome, up our swamp count for our Urborg Cabal coffers. Same with Solemn Simulacrum. Rakdos, Lord of Riots, many people's preferred option for a red-black commander deck. Could easily serve as the head of this deck over the Showstopper if you didn't care about the random coin flip side of things. You just wanted a red-black demon tribal general that would reduce the cost of your big fat demons. But I wanted to go with the control route, and having Rakdos, the Showstopper, in the command zone essentially means that I have half a board wipe in the command zone. But Lord of Riots, very solid card, definitely worth an inclusion. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, we have threatening big creatures that people are going to want to steal. Krark's Thumb is in the deck entirely for Rakdos the Showstopper, though it does help us when our Mana Crypt flips too. If you would flip a coin, instead flip 2 and ignore 1, so you can basically ensure that you get better results most of the time with your Rakdos. This, I feel, just does have to be in the deck. Board wipes, I'm pretty simple. I run Toxic Deluge because Indestructible is a pain in the neck that Rakdos can't get around. Kindred Dominance because we like demons, and people don't often play demons. So let's kill their non-demons. Blasphemous Act. If you're in red, you're playing Blasphemous Act. We all know how good this card is. Oftentimes, it's just 1 mana to do 13 to each creature. Even if you end up paying 4 or 5 to kill all the creatures in play, that's about the same rate you usually pay for the white board wipes and the black board wipes anyhow. Vandal Blast, yet again, I feel like if you're in red, you just have to run Vandal Blast, at least if artifacts are prominent in your meta. The Overload is why this card is just amazing. Rakdos Charm, a personal pet card of mine that I was happy to be able to include in the deck finally. 2 mana instant speed to exile all cards from a graveyard, destroy an artifact, or have each creature deal 1 damage to its controller. I have used all 3 of these modes to great effect. The top mode against things like Gitrog Monster and Marin. Second mode is to blow up a mana rock early in the game. And the final mode is really solid against my wife's Azazon Tamar or Edgar Markov deck, because I can just oftentimes kill her with her own creatures. It's kind of nice. Removal, I have Terminate. Dreadbore, for no other reason than it's a Rakdos deck, so I wanted the flavorful removal. Bedevil, for the same reason, and the fact that it hits one of 3 different card types for 3 mana at instant speed. I mean, big fan. Chaos Warp, yet again, if you're in red, you're playing Chaos Warp. It is just that good of a card. Probably the best removal spell in all of Commander. You heard me. I do think it's the best removal spell in all of Commander. Curtain's Call. Love this card. Also in here for the Rakdos flavor. Killing 2 creatures for 3 mana in a 4-player game is just super solid. And, yeah, they're in the Rakdos Carnarium. How cool is that? Counterspell package. Blue decks are my biggest fear, so both Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast are in this deck. Blue decks, they mess up our fun. They don't let us play our cool big fat demons, and they don't let us resolve things. It's just mean. Being able to counter their counters is hilarious, and also having a 1-mana answer to Cyclonic Rift is just hilarious. If blue isn't prevalent in your meta, I wouldn't include them, but this, to me, I'm so afraid of blue decks when I play this deck that I just needed the Pyro and Red Elemental. Then Withering Boon, just solid. If you don't know, this is a 2-mana black version of Remove Soul, but we have to pay 3 life when we cast it, so small additional price to pay to counter a creature. People never see it coming. Tutors, yet again, not very interesting, so we'll skip through them. Gamble kind of speaks for itself. Vampiric Tutor speaks for itself. Demonic Tutor speaks for itself. Here's one that may not. This is Bloodspeaker, and this guy is the MVP of the deck. I'm not kidding when I say that this guy is probably the best non-demon creature in the deck, in the top 5 best cards in the deck. So he's a 3/2 for a 3 and a black creature ogre shaman, and during our upkeep we can sacrifice it to tutor up a demon and put it in our hand. Then, whenever a demon comes into play under our control, we can return the Blood Speaker from our graveyard to our hand. So this is really great. I love to set this up with a Sire of Insanity soft lock, where I have enough mana to upkeep, sacrifice this, go find Sire, play the Sire, and then get the Blood Speaker back and redeploy the Blood Speaker, pass the turn, everyone drops their hands, and now I get to constantly get more demons, another demon on the next upkeep with the Blood Speaker, put it into play, get back the Blood Speaker, cast the Blood Speaker, and now I'm deploying a board full of creatures, while my opponents are just sitting there helplessly as I build a board state and they can do nothing about it. Really is just one of the best cards you can play in the deck, and it needs to be in every one of these decks. Dark Petition also needs no explanation. Runescar Demon is Demonic Tutor on a Demon. How perfect could that be? I mean, it's 7 mana, but hey, Demonic Tutor that leaves us with a 6/6 creature that our commander won't accidentally blow up when he comes into play. Seems solid. Faithless Looting needs no explanation. Read the Bones, same. Maggots of the Wheel, just refill our hand whenever we need to. Theater of Horrors. I had a lot of mixed feelings about this card for Commander at first, but oh my, is it good in this deck. The fact that I'm building around a Sire of Insanity softlock means that Theater of Horrors allows me to have a hand without having a hand. It lets me have a hand that the Sire can't make me get rid of. And that is just so, so good. This is actually the best of the upkeep draw effects that this deck could possibly run. And if you don't believe me, test it out for yourself. I think you'll find yourself very happy with the results. Phyrexian Arena needs no explanation. Sin Prodder. Why is he here? Because I wanted to play him for a very long time. My group has had this foil floating around ever since Shadows dropped. And we wanted to play him, and we never had a deck that he fit in. So, yeah, he has a home now. He's a devil. Rakdos doesn't hurt him. Toil and Trouble. To be honest, it's on here primarily for that Toil side, and it's a Rakdos flavor card, so I wanted to include it. But Trouble is pretty solid. I mean, 3 mana to have it deal damage to a player equal to the number of cards in their hand. If it gets to resolve, and that's a big if, because blue decks are the ones often drawing a lot of cards, and they very rarely leave up, past the turn without leaving up a bunch of counterspell mana. But if by some miracle you sneak that side through, I mean, you can basically just kill them. It's a lot of fun. Stolen Strategy in here because it's another card that I've just wanted to play ever since Battle Bond came out, and I didn't have a good home for it. It has an Azra on the artwork, which is a demon ancestor, or demon descendant rather, and I just wanted to play it. And honestly, it's been pretty fun. I've been able to cast some very powerful things that I got off Stolen Strategy. It's a solid card in this deck. Not very mana efficient, but I don't care. This is a more casual deck anyways. Lily's Contract, ETBs draws us 4 and we lose 4, and then it has that not so important clause. I mean, it doesn't tend to scare people too much. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we have 4 more demons with different names, we win the game. I haven't gotten to win with it yet because people always freak out and kill it, but one day. Bloodgift Demon is a demon that draws us cards. It's essentially a Magus of the Arena. I'll take it. Harvester of Souls is another demon that draws us cards. It's like this deck was built around demons or something. Some reanimate effects. I have Animate Dead. Victimize, because sacking 1 creature to get 2 back is oftentimes worth it. And I have a few creatures in here that kind of ETB, do their thing, and are useless afterwards, so why not? Demon of Dark Schemes is a demon that reanimates. Oh my god, look at all the demons. Charmbreaker Devils is a devil that gets back instants and sorceries randomly during our upkeep. Yet again, wanted to play it. Pretty decent card. And gets pumped when we cast instant or sorceries. Why not? Direfleet Daredevil, because I wanted to play this card too, and getting to play with our opponent's spells is just fun. Dualcaster Mage, because getting to play with our opponent's spells is just fun. Can also be a counterspell. Whenever you want to flash this down, have it copy an opponent's counterspell, then counterspell the counterspell with the counterspell you copied on the counterspell. Tons of fun. Lord of the Void similarly lets us play with our opponent's cards, because when it deals damage, we get to exile the top 7 of their library, and then put a creature from among them into play. Nothing sweeter than seeing a Shaft deck at the table and just grinning as you resolve a Lord of the Void and equip a Lightning Greaves to it. Sire of Insanity, the real commander of this deck, or at least it would be if it was legendary. I tutor this guy up every single time with the first tutor I find every game. because it's just so good. We can establish a nice soft lock. It's fair. If they draw removal, they can get out of it, and my opponents often do. I mean, I tend to reanimate it whenever I can, but even still, it's a fair card. It's just a very grindy card and allows us to kind of get the time we need to build our board full of gigantic demons and overrun our opponents in the name of Rakdos. Archfiend of Ifnir is Sire of Insanity's best friend, because if we're drawing extra cards with like our Phyrexian Arena and our Bloodgift Demon and we don't need them, this can slowly kill all of our opponent's creatures when we discard our cards. So, yeah. Very happy with how it's been working. We want to discard cards? Malfegor's pretty good at making us discard cards and clearing our opponent's board because we did so. Is he the best card in the deck? No. Why is he here? Because I wanted to play him. Like many other cards in the deck, I wanted a place to play him. So he has his home now. I like it. Sower of Discord. Pretty fun include. First of all, has some of the most badass artwork you've ever seen on a demon in Magic. But if you don't know what he does, when he ETBs, you choose 2 players, and then when damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, it's dealt to the other chosen player as well. The other chosen player loses that much life. It's not the same as like Saskia, which actually does say it deals the damage to the other player as well. You can't like infect with it, but it essentially allows us to 2 for 1. And his best friend is Archfiend of Despair, aka Black Gisela, aka Wound Reflection on a Stick. 6/6 for 8 is very hefty, but he has flying. Our opponents can't gain life, which is nice because we want to kill them, and we don't want them gaining life. And it has that, again, kind of somewhat irrelevant clause. I mean, people don't usually care too much. Of at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they lost this turn. That's why I called it Black Gisela. That's why it's here. Also, awesome artwork. So, yeah, I love Archfiend of Despair. It's a powerhouse in this deck. Gets removed often, but hey, that's going to be the problem with playing big fat creatures anyways. Up next, let's Unshackled, because tutoring is bad. Unless we're doing it, then it's great. But I find that when my opponents tutor for cards, it's often to blow me out. So I want ways to discourage them from doing that, and Ob Nixilis is pretty good in that department. Obviously, Stranglehold is a little better. I could run that instead because it just says they can't tutor. But this is a demon, man. It's a freaking demon. And oftentimes making them sack a creature and lose 10 life is just worth it. It kind of makes the game feel a little more quote-unquote fair, a little bit less grindy, a little bit less oppressive for those mid-power level games and lower power level games. So, yeah, Ob Nixilis does the job just fine. And he grows when creatures die, which synergizes with Rakdos. Demon of Wailing Agonies. Another one of those cards I thought was just very cool. Never had a place to put it after C14, and now I do. Archfiend of Depravity, kind of one of my group's pet cards. If you don't know, during each opponent's end step, they choose 2 creatures they control and sack the rest. So it really hoses token decks, it really hoses go wide type decks. Voltron decks don't care too much, but we have answers for them elsewhere. Spawn of Mayhem. I put it in here at first only because I happened to get it out of the Rakdos Guild kit. I didn't even know it was there, saw it, thought it was alright, threw it in for a low-cost creature, and then realized it single-handedly turns on Theater of Horrors and Rakdos Lord of Riots every single turn. So, yeah, awesome card. Definitely worth putting in the deck. Last few cards are some just value cards. We have Blood Artist, because we want to gain a lot of life when we kill a lot of creatures. Sangromancer, because we're making them discard a lot of cards, and we're killing a lot of their creatures. And people don't like us very much, so we need to get that life gain in there. And then Maddening Imp. I wanted to include at least 1 imp in the deck, and it was the only one that didn't seem like absolute crap. It's a 1/1 for 3, flying, tap, all non-wall creatures target opponent controls attack this turn of Fable, and at the end step, destroy each of those creatures that did not attack. Use this ability only during opponent's turn and only before combat. So, basically, you tap it on their turn before combat, and then they have to attack with everything, or the things that they don't attack with just die. It's like Goad, but a little meaner. So that is my Rakdos the Showstopper Demon Tribal Control deck. I've had a blast with it. It's just a lot of fun to set up those kind of locks where, again, opponents can get out of it, but it's a little bit of a pain. It's not so oppressive that it's quote-unquote unfair. It shouldn't get your play group groaning at you too much, but it lets you play with Demon Tribal in Commander, something I know a lot of people have been wanting to do for a very, very long time. So, if this deck interested you, leave a comment down below. Let me know how I can improve the videos for future videos. And let me know if you want to see a deck tech on something else next. I have Rayhan Timna +1/+1 counters, Autumn Willow Voltron for a low-power deck. There's all sorts of stuff. Just let me know down below, and I'll be happy to respond. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you then.